The smart lock sings my name, Lena Hart. Access granted. Like a mercy I didn't earn. A lipstick ring dries on a wineglass we never bought. Burgundy daring the light. Cedar candles smother the room with courage I don't have, and perfume I don't wear. 2 suitcases grin open on our counter. Zipper mouths already speaking ownership. I whisper, "Caleb?" But my voice is a child rehearsing how to disappear. Ohio winters taught me hunger. Marriage taught me how to plate it pretty. I made casseroles of silence and called the seasoning devotion. Brave and sweet. Caleb taught me rules. No late calls, no short dresses, no private passwords. I learned to rename cages as tenderness, compliance as care. Tonight the cage remembers its bars, and they all have my fingerprints. Mrs. Patel from 12B sends a voice note that hurts like kindness. "Sweetie, thought you were back. Saw a woman with Caleb, 2 huge suitcases. The word woman lands like a verdict. Clean, polite, and final. I open our banking app the way a coroner lifts a sheet. New charges. Wine glasses, cedar candles, a welcome mat that isn't for me. The mirror prosecutes me with prior evidence. Fear, compliance, chipped tooth. I touch the scar on my gum like it could testify and spare me. A gold hairpin smiles on the sink. Triumphant, delicate. Not mine. I tell it, "You win," because I was taught to lose beautifully. In the hallway, my courage curls under the doormat with yesterday's mail. The door opens, and he looks less shocked than finished. "Why are you here?" he asks, as if the lease vows obey him only. "We're separated, aren't we?" he says, choosing cliffs over bridges. Behind him, her suitcase exhales like it owns the air. I stand very still, the way a child learns not to be seen. "I told you to take space," he says, rearranging guilt like furniture. My name feels homeless inside my own mouth. He fetches logic the way soldiers fetch orders. Brisk, clean, unquestioned. "We agreed," he lies in a voice that hugs and strangles. I search the room for truth and find only receipts. On the counter, a pair of wineglass boxes like newlyweds. The scent of cedar insists on being our new normal. My phone shakes with evidence pretending to be ordinary. The building app shows S. Avery, approved by resident. Dates and times march like soldiers I never enlisted. "Who is Sloan?" I ask, and the syllable cuts like cold. He blinks into serenity, a glassy lake over a war. "A friend," he tosses, cheap and exact, a thrift store alibi. "Friends don't move in," I answer, and my voice almost lives. He shrugs, the gesture of a man outsourcing consequences. In the bathroom, my breath fogs the past and the present. The hairpin waits, gold as a small, cruel sunrise. I pull the drawer and meet a stranger's rubber band. Domestic artifacts line up like tiny betrayals in a parade. I realize I am grieving a future that never began. He points to the door, and the room becomes border control. "Take your things, Lena," he says, kinder than a bruise, kind enough to hurt worse, because it sounds like mercy. "I will," I lie, because leaving is a kind of dying. Outside, the elevator dings like an obituary bell. On my mother's borrowed couch, sleep refuses to sign the lease. The ceiling fan counts my fears like unpaid bills. Every inhale tastes like loss and stale detergent. I text nothing to no one and still feel guilty. My chest tightens, a fist learning how to be permanent. The panic attack pronounces me guilty of breath. Fingers go numb. Thoughts sprint off the roof edge. I remember a therapist's voice like a lighthouse. Name 5 things you see. Dust, curtain, moon, hope, me. Name 4 things you feel. Couch, blanket, pulse, breaking. At 3 a.m., the past returns with its unpaid tab. The chipped tooth, the apology baked into my gums. The plate thrown not at me but through me, boiling like shame. I hear the old instruction. Be smaller, be softer, be safe. I make myself paper thin and still feel too much. By dawn, grief wears my face like borrowed makeup. I shower like the water can teach me a new alphabet. In the mirror, a woman I've abandoned waits for me. She looks tired of rescues that never include her name. I touch her cheek and promise breakfast and oxygen. At the bank, I cancel the joint card like cutting hair. The scissors shake, but the strands fall anyway. I move cash, change passwords, rescue the crumbs. It feels like packing a parachute while falling. I hit confirm, and the ground takes a polite step back. Chapter 4. American childhood. Rust Belt prayers. Grandma's farmhouse in Ohio smelled like boiled coffee in winter. We learned scarcity the way others learned Sunday hymns. My mother stitched paychecks into the month and called it grace. I kept silent so our walls could afford heat. Quiet was currency, and I became rich in it. On Father's Day crafts, I made origami of absence. Teachers said, "Good job." Unaware, they praised camouflage. I watched other girls practice laughter like a sport. I practiced vanishing until it felt like talent. Perfection is just fear, with better posture. In middle school, Donovan Hale owned the only market. He saw my hunger and named it scholarship. He called it help when the help came with a key. 5 years later, I called it survival to keep breathing. Names are costumes. The truth keeps changing clothes. When I finally left, I kept nothing but my spine. He said, "Go, but go empty." And I did, grateful and shaking. I bought Grandma a house and framed the receipt like a medal. Freedom tasted like drywall dust and possibility. I slept for days and woke up half-assembled. Years later, Caleb looked like the answer to a winter. Bright mind, steadier hands, rules that felt like shelter. My ribs unclenched and learned a slower song. I believed a good man could edit the past. He could not. He only proofread my silence. Maya cried through the vows like a warning I misunderstood. Ruby threw petals that smelled like futures I could hold. Evelyn's pearls glowed with the gravity of approval. Thomas shook my hand like I had joined a nation. I wore yes like a dress, and let it own me. At first, marriage tasted like peaches and clean sheets. Caleb read case law out loud, and I called it music. He taught me tennis, and I learned his favorite errors. He said, "You're safest close," and I measured myself smaller. The rings sparkled like compliance learning choreography. Foreshadows piled quiet as laundry. A glance, a flinch, a schedule. No social media unless it was ours, jointly supervised. No deep necklines. My body was for us, meaning him. Friends thinned like autumn, leaves I wasn't allowed to rake. The world narrowed and I called it intimate. 40 days before the wedding, the first grip left bruises. He called it jealousy, and I called it love with teeth. I slept in the car and woke up forgiving. The invitations in my purse rustled like witnesses. I told them to hush and married him anyway. There is a way women learn to curate their fear. We call it wisdom, or loyalty, or timing. We learn which jokes are safe, which truths are fatal. I built a map of safe words and used it daily. The compass always pointed toward silence. It was Sunday heat, and men telling jokes to other men. I was dizzy, the kind of tired that means please. He drank the courage that turns love into a weapon. The fight arrived like weather, loud, sudden, unforgiving. His elbow argued with my face and won. Blood taught me the taste of honesty in one flood. Evelyn sobbed, Thomas drove, the dentist stitched the night. I told the bicycle story we all knew by heart. The mirror winced at the metal splint on my tooth. I smiled small so the lie could fit. He said he felt sorry for what happened, not sorry for doing it. He filed me under provoked and shut the cabinet. I filed myself under shouldn't have talked back. My mouth learned how to kiss around a panic. Forgiveness became my unpaid overtime. After that, the house learned to hold its breath. Tennis was canceled. My dresses got longer. I kept the peace like a second job with no salary. He stayed late at work and came home colder. I hugged the dog and rehearsed endurance. Some nights the tooth hummed with weather and memory. Pain forecasts are truer than people. I pressed my lip and whispered, "We're fine." The mirror didn't applaud, but it didn't argue. Denial tucked me in and called itself rest. Back in the apartment, the suitcases study me without blinking. One is navy, one is wine, both confident in their addresses. A hairbrush waits like a crown I was never offered. The welcome mat declares home and means not yours. The thermostat is set to someone else's blood. I photograph nothing and remember everything. Serial numbers on the boxes, the shape of a new mug, a receipt with Sloane's name like a signed confession, a text to Maya, "He replaced me before I left." 3 dots blink, then disappear, then blink again. The smart lock log reads like a diary of betrayal. Tuesday, S. Avery access granted. Wednesday, again. Thursday, again. The pattern is not a story, it's a verdict. I want to scream, but my lungs have rules too. Instead, I align the knives so none point at me. He says, "You can take what's yours." Generous as a landlord. What's mine? The chipped cup, the dull pans, the ghost. I pack a sweater that remembers our first snow. I leave the ring on the counter, small as a lie. It glitters like a dare, then like nothing at all. In the elevator, Mrs. Patel holds the door with kind eyes. "Breathe, sweetheart," she says, and I try to obey. Floors blink by like alternate lives I didn't live. At the lobby, I step into air that doesn't know my name. Outside, the city keeps beating, and so do I. At my mother's table, grief comes in bowls we don't name. She slices apples like apologies and doesn't look up. We practice small talk so the room won't drown. I list what I still own: a spine, a chipped smile, a future. She lists what I forgot: hunger, grit, my grandfather's laugh. Maya texts in bursts, a lighthouse with thumbs. Eat, shower, breathe. I'm outside in 10. We drive nowhere and everywhere. Windows down, hair feral. She says, "You are not hard to love," like a verdict I can keep. I pocket the sentence and pretend it's a key. At night, I fold clothes and unfold memories. The wedding dress sleeps in its coffin. Too quiet. I almost pray for a different ending. Then don't. I've begged enough altars that only love himself. This time, I choose a God who answers to my name. I open a new email and hire a lawyer with my savings. Her voice is calm water I can finally drink. "We'll separate assets and set you free," she says. Freedom sounds expensive and worth every bruise. I sign where she points and the page feels lighter. Before sleep, I write a letter to the woman I used to be. I'm sorry we kept you starving and called it devotion. I'm sorry we mistook cages for homes. I'm sorry we believed harm was proof of love. Come with me if you want to live. The church basement smells like coffee and floor-waxed hope. Plastic chairs make a circle that doesn't break. We go around saying names like first breaths. "Hi, I'm Lena, and I'm learning not to apologize for staying alive." The room nods like a chorus I didn't know I needed. Jana speaks of quiet barbed wires at dinner. Tess keeps a list titled, "Things I Will No Longer Excuse." Miggy laughs like a window opening in July. Our pain threads itself into a tapestry that holds. We practice boundaries, clumsy, holy, and new. My therapist gives me verbs I can carry. Pause, notice, name, choose, exit. We rehearse no until it fits my mouth. We build emergency plans for love that forgets to be kind. We teach my nervous system a softer alphabet. At home, I post sticky notes on mirrors. Your needs are facts. Your body is home. Silence is not peace if it hurts. Love without safety isn't love. It's theater. The mirror finally nods back without flinching. When Caleb emails, I don't reply in flames. I forward it to my lawyer and close the tab. My heart burps old thunder, then settles. Boundaries are boring in the best possible way. Boredom tastes like safety, and I go for seconds. I move to New York with 2 suitcases and 1 promise. If I must rebuild, I'll use my real name as cement. A sublet in Queens smells like curry and piano scales. Downstairs, Mrs. Lee waters everyone's plants and gossip. Upstairs, a window insists on hope at 6 a.m. I clean offices before sunrise. Headphones full of poems. Windex becomes baptism. Vacuums become thunder I control. I learn the map by feet and mistakes and laughter. Cash tips fold into small permission slips to breathe. At noon, I nap like an act of civil disobedience. Nights, I take English classes and lose my fear of asking. I raise my hand for the future like it's attendance. We practice job interviews and boundaries in the same breath. My teacher says my commas look like tiny spines. I decide to keep them that way. On Saturdays, Maya visits and we conquer bodegas. We collect bruised flowers nobody bought. We put them in ugly vases and call them miracles. The apartment learns our names and spells them right. Loneliness still comes, but now it knocks first. I keep a jar labeled firsts. First rent paid alone. First laugh that didn't apologize. First sunrise I watched for me, not for survival. First night I slept without plotting escape routes. I empty the jar and start over, greedy for living. At an open mic in Brooklyn, the mic looks like a dare. My palms sweat confessions my mouth hasn't earned yet. I read the poem about the hairpin and the smart lock log. The room hushes like church right before the hymn. When I finish, someone whispers, "More." A woman in the back cries like relief found her. After, she hugs me careful, like we're both made of glass. My sister needs these words, she says, and I believe her. We swap numbers like life rafts between storms. Community feels like a new organ learning to beat. I start running at dawn along the river. My lungs complain, then forgive me for everything. A man with a gentle dog nods every Tuesday. We never speak, and it's perfect like that. Not all intimacy asks for names. At work, I get promoted to trainer. I teach new hires how to clean without erasing themselves. We schedule breaks like they're sacred appointments. I say, take water, take breath, take your time. They call me boss. I call it balance. In a bookstore, I buy a plant that keeps not dying. I name her Liberty because irony is delicious. She droops. I listen. She stands back up. We practice resilience without witnesses. It counts twice when nobody sees. The email subject reads, "Can we talk?" See. My stomach tightens, then chooses to be a fist for me. He writes about regrets that don't have verbs. He wants coffee, history, access, absolution. I want silence, sunlight, and my Saturday. I draft 3 replies and send none. Instead, I mail the last spare key to my lawyer. I let law be the language of endings, not romance. I block his number and unblock my future. The quiet that follows is honest and earned. A week later, Evelyn calls from a number I recognize. Her voice is older kindness braided with worry. "I hope you're well, dear," she says, and means it. We talk about weather and books and nothing sharp. When she cries softly, I let the call be a bridge. She says Thomas still keeps my Christmas card displayed. I smile like a truce nobody has to sign. Some love survives by changing its job description. Some families stay in your bones without ownership. We say goodbye like adults who learned. That night, I light a candle not made of cedar. The match flares like a small, true sunrise. I write, "Forgiveness is optional. Safety is not." I add, "Closure given by self counts double." The flame agrees in its quiet language. Spring arrives in a jacket I can afford. Queens smells like rain and fried dough and second chances. I hang new curtains that don't ask who else lives here. The plant thrives. The rent clears. The mirror softens. I take up space on purpose and call it home. At the river, Tuesday Dogman finally speaks. "Good morning," he says, simple as clean water. I consider the weight of answering and do. "Good morning," I say, gift wrapping the absence of fear. We smile, then keep the sky between us friendly. Maya throws me a party for nothing in particular. We toast to no anniversaries, only breath. Ruby sends a drawing of a woman with a cape. "It's me," she writes, and I believe her on sight. I pin it to the fridge like a new kind of diploma. I interview for a day job with health insurance. The manager asks about leadership and I say, "Listening." I say, "People do better when someone believes them." I say, "I learned the hard way, and I'm still soft." He smiles like permission and offers Monday. That night, I open the window and the city answers. I whisper thanks to the girl who survived winters, to the woman who left and arrived at herself, to the life that didn't need a ring to be real. When I sleep, even my dreams keep the lights on.